At this point in the adventure, Richard was in Wales. Got a cheap flight to Northern Ireland. It was a Ryanair sail, but the Ryanair carry-on limit is such a tiny thing. So Richard got an op-shop jacket and stuffed it with the clothes he'd bring. 'Cause there's no rules on what you can wear to get on a plane. And then he stuffed it all back in his backpack again, 'cause he's a cheap skate. Oh, such a cheap skate. He saved like 70% on his flight, 'cause he's a cheapskate.
So after arriving in Belfast, I went to my hostel, the Global Village. It was a decent enough place and it had a really good social vibe, so I pretty much met new people there every single day. On the first day, I decided to see some of Belfast street murals and check out some of the terraced housing and architecture along the way. Belfast was a well-known industrial city, and shipbuilding was one of those major industries. They actually built the Titanic here. I just love how these streets look. So there's a whole lot of street murals in Belfast, either depictions of the Troubles or propaganda for either side of the conflict. The neighbourhood you're in will determine the kind of messaging you're likely to see. So I walk from my hostel to a loyalist neighbourhood to check it out. Now, this isn't a political video and there's nowhere near enough time to cover the conflict. This is just a quick recap of my time in Belfast. So, because the murals in this part of Belfast belong to the Loyalist, aka Unionist side, they're generally remembering attacks by the IRA or celebrating the Ulster Unionists that fought against the IRA. After 30 years of violence, the people on both sides were completely exhausted with the fighting and just ready to compromise. That led to the Good Friday Agreement, which called for an immediate end to the violence and allowed for the UK-ruled Northern Ireland for the first time to rejoin Ireland if the residents there voted to do so in the future. Before this, reunification was just out of the question. So, after wandering around the city for the first day, I went back to my hostel to hang out with some fellow travellers and get an early night, because the next day I had a huge bus tour of Northern Ireland already booked in.
Hey guys, so I am walking around the countryside of Northern Ireland. I'm on a tour today, checking out some of the sights from the Game of Thrones movie and various other interesting spots in Northern Ireland. It's a pretty long one. Tour lasts for 12 hours, so I'm getting a lot done in one day.
This tour had a lot of interesting little stops, random castles and landmarks, but it was also a Game of Thrones tour. And that's because so many of the most iconic filming locations for that show were done in Ireland, and we visited a bunch of different ones on this tour. So to give you an example of a filming location, here's a spot called Dark Hedges. On the show, it's King's Road, and they use it a few times in the show, so check it out. And here is the same road in full sun without the cinematic colour. But check it out, these trees are absolutely amazing.
Hey guys, today I'm at the Giant's Causeway, which is this really impressive geological structure that forms when basalt magma cools and cracks. For the longest time, scientists didn't really understand exactly how or exactly what temperature this structure would form at. But in more recent times, they've worked out that when the basalt magma cools between sort of 840 to 890 degrees, you're able to get this type of perfect hexagonal structure forming as it cools. Really impressive stuff. There's about 40,000 of these columns, and it's believed that they formed between 50 to 60 million years ago.